Entropy Zero is a Half-Life 2 mod which was developed and published by Breadman, whoever that is. It stands as one of the highest rated mods on Steam. There have actually been multiple versions of this mod ever since it was released in 2017, but there aren't many differences between them except for a few bug fixes and small changes to some of the levels. So today we're just looking at its latest update, which is version 3. Half-Life 2 has a lot of large open areas, especially when you're traveling along the coastline, but Entropy Zero is pretty much the complete opposite of that. The first part involves raiding rebel hideouts, like warehouses and apartments, to seek out and kill the remaining rebels in City 10. About halfway through, one of your fellow Combine, who you helped escape from prison, backstabs you, or back shoots you, and you're thrown into the sewers by the rebels. For the rest of the time you're stuck fighting hordes of zombies while trying to find your way out of the sewers. You never do make it back outside because the Vortigaunts have a secret hideout that you find, so you have to take it down. So as I said, you're pretty much always inside buildings with no windows, or in sewers which have no light whatsoever. You're just in pitch black environments most of the time. I mean, I could argue that it's even darker than Doom 3. Because of this, your character has night vision mode, which is built into the Combine suit. It gives off a flickering effect, makes everything a little blurry, and also lowers your view distance quite a bit. It was a nice feature, but I relied too heavily on it, not bothering to turn it off even outside. I feel like the devs should add something to where if you keep night vision mode on outside, it'll be extremely hard to see anything, just like night vision goggles in real life. One thing I want to mention is the Combine's eyes glow now, which I really liked, and I feel like it would have been great in the original game as well. In Half-Life 2, you had the zombies and you had the Combine, you know? Those were the two main classes of enemies. In Entropy Zero, however, it's now zombies, rebels, and Vortigaunts. Rebels will use just about any weapon against you, and the Vortigaunts shoot lightning strikes like they did in Half-Life 1. There are also turrets, which the rebels have reprogrammed to attack the Combine. After sneaking behind enemy lines, you end up sending a signal to the turrets that makes them attack the rebels, and they kill pretty much all of them in a matter of seconds. There was a point where I had all the turrets on my side while fighting zombies. I lined all 4 of them up, and they helped fight off a horde while I escaped. The way that AI sees you in Entropy Zero is, if you can't see them, they can't see you. The turret AI would only attack when they could see my face, and the same can be said for the rebels. See, if I hold a slim dresser in front of me while walking across this hallway, the rebel turret won't shoot, but if I walk across it normally, it's pretty much instant death. Stalkers are basically Combine's mindless slaves, and you have to actually protect one of them during the game or else you have to restart that section. These things are defenseless and it can be hard to defend them, especially since you can't see what's coming from behind since it's so dark. Toward the end of the 2-hour-long mod, the stalkers are turned against you. They shoot lasers from their faces and do a lot of damage, but they're really slow and are about as brain dead as the people who pay $60 a year to play the same exact sports game. So I don't know if you played Half-Life 2, but for those who have, do you remember the manhacks? Those drones that would fly around and attack you with their blades? Well, they've made a comeback, just like the turrets, but this time you can actually deploy them to kill zombies, rebels, you name it. One problem I did run into is even though I had turrets and manhacks on my side, they would still attack each other. Hopefully this is fixed in version 4 or something. Entropy Zero sees the return of a few weapons from Half-Life 2. You've got the pistol, SMG, pulse rifle, and shotgun. Unfortunately though, the revolver, crossbow, and rocket launcher don't appear anywhere in this mod, probably because there aren't any open areas to use them in. A lot of people say that weapons in the Half-Life games have always been boring and generic, which I sort of agree with, but this mod has added a new feature that makes gunplay a lot more interesting. It's recoil. The guns have so much recoil, so it makes you have to burst fire. Here, just take a look at me unloading a magazine with both automatic weapons, and you'll see a difference between these recoil patterns in the mod versus in vanilla. Sound effects for the guns have also been changed, which I have to say I really don't like. It's especially noticeable in the pulse rifle, which sounds like an SMG now. And here are the comparisons for the rest. If you'll notice, I turned my FOV all the way up to 90 in both recordings, but the guns in Entropy Zero for some reason are a lot closer to the camera. One thing I didn't mention is that the crowbar is now replaced with a stun baton. This thing I believe does the same amount of damage as the crowbar, but its only use is to destroy boxes that are in the way, since you start off with a pistol and an SMG, so there's really no point in having the stun baton, but it's still a cool feature. The puzzles in Entropy Zero, unlike in Half-Life 2, are actually challenging and they make you have to think. One thing about the puzzles is sometimes there will be a box you can't break because it's a part of the puzzle. At that point they should just be using barrels instead, which would make a lot more sense. There is some exploration in this and it rewards you with ammo and health pickups. There are also a few stories and some sketches of what appears to be G-Man scattered on the walls throughout the game. They're written by Combine or Rebels, and sometimes take a few minutes to read. If you'd like, you can pause the video here and read these few paragraphs talking about G-Man. One thing that really gets on my nerves are invisible walls. Whenever I try to look around or just explore an area and get met with one, it can be really annoying. One more thing I want to cover for this mod is now you can actually kill every NPC, but it'll set you back. In Half-Life 1, you could kill scientists, but then you wouldn't be able to get into that locked room or get that little extra health. The same can be said for this mod, but instead of not getting a little more health, it's being forced to restart at the last checkpoint. The last thing that doesn't really fit into the other categories is that ammo crates can sometimes have C4 on them. Get too close and they'll explode. So it makes you a little more cautious about something as little as getting ammo. Entropy Zero is a mod that I could even mistaken for a Valve title, and is sort of like the Half-Life 2 opposing force that could have been. It's something I would highly recommend to anyone who's a fan of opposing force, or just of the Half-Life games in general. It makes sense that you need a copy of Half-Life 2, but for some reason, you need both of the episodes to run it as well. You can get the Half-Life bundle on Steam for $7 when it goes on sale during Thanksgiving, Christmas, and during the summer sale. At least that's for the United States, so I'm not sure about other countries. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and I just wanted to say that this mod is only 2 hours long, but offers some really fun gameplay, and it's only about 8 GB. So I would go out and try it now, and maybe you can let me know what you thought in the comments. So you know what to do: like, dislike, make sure to smash subscribe. Hopefully I'll see you next time.